Sport is full of wonderful stories, and one such wonderful story is something that we are going to unveil, is something that we are going to discuss and be happy about, be proud about. And that story is that of Papua New Guinea, who is a part of the ICC T20 World Cup. But hang on a minute. Before we talk about Papua New Guinea, I'm sure the man who's right next to me in this frame of yours is, oh, I know him. That's Tatenda Taibu. That's the reaction pretty much that should be expected out of every one of your cricket fans. Thank you so much, Tatenda Taibu, the coach of the Papua New Guinea cricket team. Lovely to have you with us on CSK TV.
Thanks, RK. It's good to be here.
First things first, Tatenda, how do you manage to stay the same across decades now? It's almost like I'm going back in time and almost revisiting an 18-year-old who made his test debut for Zimbabwe.
Funny enough, I get comments like that all the time, and even now it gets quite ridiculous because when I'm working with my kids, people think that we are brothers, and when I say that, oh, this is my older son, my son is 18 now, just about to turn 19, and wow. and people can't believe it, so I hope I'll continue being happy, continue smiling, and stay younger for a lot more years to come.
I think by the time we finish this interview, maybe you spill out the secret and tell us what you eat and how you kind of go about your life. Because these days it's a very, very busy lifestyle, isn't it? I mean, you are with Papua New Guinea. Tell us a little bit about the journey so far.
So my journey started last year in August. So I was one of the applicants for the role, for the women's head coach role. But before that, I think Richard Don decided on a very interesting interview, which I think is the best way of doing an interview. So he asked me to visit Papua New Guinea as a consultant to see if I would like the place, if I would, to have a look at the players, to see, if I think there's something that I can work with them. And so it was a real practical interview. Personally, I just liked it. I could see a lot of the way I grew up in Zimbabwe. I could see a lot of that in them. So I thought, well, if I can see a lot of myself in them, I should be able to navigate my way easily, because I can easily relate to some of the things that they have to go through and some of the challenges that they have to go through and some of the things that advantages for their growth in cricket. So come January, I then signed a contract and started full-time with two roles. So the head coach for the Barramandis, which is the men's team, and performance director, so covering all performance of coaches and cricketers in Papua New Guinea.
Interesting story, really, because I mean, for the uninitiated, cricket is not new to Papua New Guinea. I mean, we do see them during the World Cups. I mean, they do qualify. But the fact of the matter is, cricket did come to Papua New Guinea in the early 1900s. And I think 1973 was the first time they became an associate member of the International Cricket Council. So it's not as if it's new. What I really admire about Papua New Guinea is the native people who are the backbone of cricket out there, isn't it? Tatenda, how important is that in terms of building a culture in a particular nation?
So you're spot on there, because you will see a lot of the countries, or what are called associate nations, you will see a lot of people that are coming from different countries that will go in, and then they qualify to be a citizen of that country, and then they start participating and playing for that country. Whereas in Papua New Guinea, pretty much everyone is from Papua New Guinea. And that means there is something right that they're doing in terms of development of sport. I did visit one of the villages which produces most of the players, which is called Hanwabara. And I can see how they view themselves as a family rather than a team. So whereas obviously every other team that I've been involved in, obviously it's a team, it's team spirit, it's team this. But with Papua New Guinea, it's not team, it's family. So they look out for each other, and you don't feel, it's not a struggle to go to practice. It's not, you don't need to fight any of your emotions when you're going for practice. You actually look forward to being at practice. You look forward to going for a match. You look forward because they create such an atmosphere. Look, I'm not saying this because I'm with them now, and I know that obviously the words that I'm about to say will not be accepted by a lot of people, but it is the truth, and I like to tell the truth. I've been with so many teams, and I've been as a player, as a coach, in administration. I can safely say there is no team that I've been involved in which I feel right at home like I do in Papua New Guinea.
It's just the proximity to, say, Australia. I mean, I was just looking at where Papua New Guinea, I'm sure a lot of people are beginning to look at what Papua New Guinea or where they are, with due respect to the nation. I mean, the proximity to Australia, how much of an advantage it is, if at all you think it is an advantage, and how much has it contributed to the development of cricket out there?
There is definitely a link between the two countries. I know Queensland, Queensland cricket does a lot to PNG. I think there's a bond between the two nations. I think during the times of war, I think when the Japanese were attacking Papua New Guinea, it was some of the Australian soldiers that joined hands with the Papua New Guinea soldiers to win independence. So there is a strong bond there. I know that there is kit that is supplied through to Papua New Guinea from Australia, and whenever we want to have extensive training sessions where we want a bit of competition as well as facilities and equipment, we just hop on a flight to Brisbane. And we have a camp there. So they definitely is a bond. If you look at our chairman, Nick Harrison, he used to be he used to live in Australia. Our CEO at the moment, Richard Don, played for Queensland, and he's Australian. So there is definitely a bond, and it's just a stone throw away flight from Papua New Guinea to Brisbane.
In terms of infrastructure, in terms of the number of cricket grounds, in terms of the kinds of pitches, again, would it be fair to say that because you spoke about Queensland and the relationship that Papua New Guinea enjoys with that part of Australia, is it fair to say the wickets out there and the training facilities, I wouldn't say at par with Australia, but there's a lot that you can take out from Australia?
Well, there is a lot that should be taken out of Australia, but there isn't. The honest fact is that the facilities, we don't have much facilities. A lot of the training that we do on AstroTurf, on Astra nets, and we have turf, but they're slow, and sometimes 10, like slow 10, but a lot of 10. So it's not the wickets that are conducive for international, to produce international stars. So there is a lot of improvisation that I had to do. Obviously, when I saw the conditions in August, and obviously knowing that we're going to be part of the World Cup, we started making improvisations to how we trained to make sure that we bring best out of the players. So we've got one ground where we have all our games, and the chairman has been pushing to try and reclaim one of the other grounds that we used to have, and he's been forthcoming when it comes to that. So in terms of facility and infrastructure, we don't have much to ride upon, but I know that the people in the background are working hard to make sure that improves. In terms of numbers of participants, that is getting better and better by the day. In the last 2 years alone, we increased participation from the age of 10 to 17 by 1,600%.
Wow.
So from something along the lines of 16 teams or 16 to 20 teams, we now have something like 360 teams. And so it is growing, and the numbers are expected to grow by another 80 to 100 in the next year. So we're getting a lot of interest with the young kids, and now that is sorting out one problem where you want the human resources, but that will create another problem where we need more equipment and we need more infrastructure, we need more grounds and things like that. There are grounds that we've started making sure that we revive back, but the rate at which we're getting the numbers is very high, that we need to really catch up when it comes to facilities and equipment.
Yeah, that's quite a fantastic story in terms of the number of people who are interested and the number of teams that have gone up in Papua New Guinea. And is that where the big advantage now is, or the big inspiration is? Papua New Guinea being a part of this World Cup, not for the first time, of course, in the T20 World Cup, they are a part here, and therefore it gives everybody in that ecosystem to be close and interact with people from other parts of the world, from the other cricketing nations. Besides, obviously, what happens on the cricket field, is that one of the biggest takeaways during the course of this T20 World Cup for Papua New Guinea?
I think it's just one of those situations where you have a group of players that want to go further, we've got a team in the background that want to go a little bit further, and just mixed with coaches that also want the same thing, and you just have that syncing together at the same time, and where everyone is thinking, okay, we've been to World Cups, we haven't won any games, so what's the next thing? The next thing is we want to start winning games at the World Cups, but do we only want to win games at the World Cup? Actually, we want cricket to be the number one sport in the country. But is that all that we want? Or we want to play Test cricket? So you've got all these things being thrown in administration, being thrown in at board meetings, and around conversations with players. So it's just one of those times that you get, countries do get that every now and again, where I believe that this is the time that we'll get the best out of Papua New Guinea and move forward.
It's just quite a fascinating story, and therefore your almost entire world would want to watch Papua New Guinea and hope that every one of those players really blossom and do very, very well. I mean, obviously, I'm from CSK TV. We concentrate so much on the Indian Premier League in this part of the world. In terms of dreams, does an IPL feature anywhere in their minds, in the minds of the players of Papua New Guinea?
It's something that I started putting in their minds, and I said, look, you don't know what you have, because some of these guys can hit a cricket ball, some of these guys bowl well, but they have the ability. I mean, because I've been part of IPL, I played for KKR, and I still follow IPL. I still watch a lot of games of the IPL. I have friends that are coaching in various teams, and so I start to put that in their minds, to say, look, you've got this. You are at a world stage. You show what you can do, and not only show what you can do it over and over again up until everyone believes that you can do something, and then that's how you get deals. I mean, everyone who gets deals, does it the same way. I did it the same way. It's if you're consistent and you're playing well and doing what others are not able to do, then you'll be picked. So that's what I start throwing to them now, to say, look, don't think of yourself on this level. Always think of yourself on that level. And if you reach that level, stop thinking that you're on that level. Start thinking you're on another level. And I think it's easier for me to be able to sell this to them, because I came from Zimbabwe, where Zimbabwe was a small nation in my time. I was very young, where people would say, nah, you're only 16, you're only 17. Now, what can you do in international cricket? And I broke a lot of barriers. A lot of the things that people would say, no, it can't be done. I mean, up to date, I'm the only Zimbabwean who was an under-19 player of the tournament. And people, when I would say to them, I'm going to be player of the tournament one day, people would laugh at me. And that's what happens in life, because a lot of people think negatively. So I understand what people need. I understand what they need to do to be actually able to be recognized and to be able to, to get a deal in the future. At the end of the day, it has to be done. It has to be done by someone has to buy that and be able to do it consistently. And who knows?
I mean, Papua New Guinea, I mean, they are also coming at the backdrop of that big tragedy in the nation, isn't it? I mean, I'm sure at some level they would be affected. There would be friends and families. They've tried to put all that behind them, that landslide tragedy, and have united together in this T20 World Cup, isn't it?
Well, so when it happened, we got together and we said, look, that's another reason why we should play well in this World Cup, and let's keep that in mind. That there are people that have lost their loved ones, and there are people that are struggling back home, and they are our people. They are our family. That's how we look at it. So it's another reason why we should play well and dedicate whatever wins that we have to them. So yes, we did speak about that, and look, at the end of the day, they understood that it's a tragedy, and they understood that there won't be time to mourn them, but they took the flip side of it and said, look, let's use it as a motivational factor.
Tatenda Taibu, wouldn't want to take too much of your time, but seriously, thank you so much for taking your time out and speaking to us on CSK TV. If you still want to spill the secret, I'm all ears as to how you look exactly the same way that you looked about 20 years back or 15 years back.
Well, I think a lot of people think that it's the smile. I try to be happy most of the times. I don't know. If I find it, I'll tell you.
We'll wait for that day. Thank you so much, Tatenda Taibu. Go well. All the best to you and your team. Go well. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you, RK.